Yep. Y'all see that? Well, guess what that dumb little bait did again? Done caught me another 7 pounder. Yep, that's right. Caught number 5, 7+ pounder this past week. And I went out on the lake the other day on having full intentions to make you guys a video. I was gonna do some on the water stuff and kind of go through my baits and show you what I've been throwing and how I've been throwing them. And lo and behold, 9 o'clock comes around, I go to do it, and my microphone won't work. It won't connect to YouTube, or it won't connect Bluetooth via Bluetooth to my phone. Did whatever I could to get it to work, and it doesn't want to work. Then I get home today and I turn it on and it decides it wants to work. So I guess I'll make a video now while it's working. I just wanted to talk to you guys about what's been going on lately. This is going to be more for the local guys, which I know I have a lot of you local guys that follow me on here. And if you guys want to see a couple pictures of some of the big fish I've caught recently, make sure you follow me on Instagram. My Instagram account name is @scarfishing. Same as everything else, SKARFISHING. So give me a follow on Instagram. I don't do YouTube or Facebook anymore. Too much drama on there for me. But let's get into what's been going on. So on the lake, the water temperature rose pretty quick a couple weeks ago when it was 60s and 70s during the day, and it shot that water temperature up to like 58 degrees at one point. And I started noticing I was catching a couple males that were really shallow. Seemed like they wanted to start making beds. And then we had a cold snap that just fucked everything up for a while. But the good news is now, with the water temperature staying stable around 50 degrees, a lot of those big females are up and feeding. And I'm getting all kind of questions from, well, how are you catching them? Are you catching them cranking, or you catching them? This seems like a lot of people are struggling right now. But like I said, I just gave you exactly what I caught that 7-pounder on, an old dumb Texas Ring Senko, black and blue. It was windy that day. I was up against a wind-blown bank, and I had to change my weight from a 1/4 ounce to a 3/8 ounce just to be able to feel. And he thumped it. She thumped it. It was definitely a good bite. It was like 1 o'clock in the afternoon when that happened. Now, a buddy of mine's been going out with me a lot. I've been trying to fish with the same person since this social distancing and quarantine shit has us all held captive. So I haven't been out with a whole lot of people, which I probably should be because I need the money. Not working and everything's really putting a hurting on everything right now. I can't, buy anything that I need or whatever. I've basically been spending money on gas and that's about it. So I'm using a lot of baits that I don't really have confidence in, but I'm gaining confidence with. Some of them not so much. So right now, like I said, a lot of people are struggling, and I think the deal with that is there's not the fish aren't where they should be, as in most times, most other years this time of year, you're catching 15 to 20 fish a day and a couple good ones in there now. Right now, you're not getting many bites, 3 to 5 bites a day. Some people are doing better than that. Some people aren't doing nowhere near that. But the bites you're getting are quality, like real quality. The first one I lost this year that I told you guys about, that one was pushing the 10-pound class. It was the biggest bass I've ever seen. And I've, like I said, I've caught several 7s, and this one was way bigger than that. So I was happy to catch that 7. It was a 7.29, I think, a couple days ago. The same day my buddy caught a high 5, and then the next day I caught a 6.30. So the big ones are around. They're up. You just have to maintain confidence, and I think one of the biggest problems with people that you're not giving yourself enough credit for is I maintain that confidence from and so do the guys that I fish with, because I've instilled it in them to it only takes that one bite. So if you go from 7 o'clock in the morning until 12 o'clock in the afternoon, it's really, really, really easy to lose, your confidence in what you're doing. Where I'm using the same baits pretty much throughout the day, and I know that at any time it's going to happen. And a lot of the times I'm rotating the same banks, or leaving one area, letting the other area warm up a little bit later in the day, and then going back to it because I know that they utilize that area. So one main thing is having confidence. Like a lot of the times I'll go, I'll have one bite early, and then we'll go 3, 4, 5 hours and then not get another one, and then catch two giants back to back. So like I said, you're not getting a lot of bites right now, but the ones you are catching are really good ones. And I've noticed a lot of them aren't in their traditional areas where, normally you'll target channel swings, and you'll target bluff style banks and stuff like that. A lot of them, there's not a good number of fish that are on those areas. I've been catching most of them. Like I said, a few weeks ago, I caught them shallow on flats. But now it seems like I'm catching more of them that have deep water access, but they're still extremely shallow, and getting close to those spawning areas. God, what else? The main baits that I've been throwing, there was on Easter Sunday, we caught like 12 fish that day. And I caught them on a swim bait, a chatterbait, a spinner bait, a Senko, a swim bait. And then a couple days before that, I was catching them on a giant swim bait. Like the thing that keyed me into that was my buddy was throwing a trap and ripping it through the grass on a shallow point that's next to deeper water, and like a 5-something ate it, and he had a giant gizzard shad stuffed down his throat. Also, you can see that on Instagram as well. But he had like an 8-inch shad down his throat, and so it kind of got me thinking, like, maybe we need to start throwing some bigger baits. So that's I brought out a big glider that a buddy of mine makes, and I caught a few good ones on that the following day. But then again, recently it seems like I caught a couple that spit up really tiny shad. So like I said, it's all over the place right now, and a lot of people are confused. Trust me, there's been days where I've been confused as well. The fish aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing, or what we think they should be doing. But what I did realize is that just maintain that confidence and keep going back to those same areas that that these fish live during this time of year, or they're coming to, and just rotate the areas. I'll tell you a perfect example too was that 7-pounder the other day. We had seen 10 plus boats go down this same stretch, and the difference between them and us, in my opinion, was that these guys weren't catching anything. So that they're just going through the motions and not having any confidence whatsoever, where we had 100% confidence because we had, caught fish previously that day, or had caught several fish and knew, these fish are coming up here to feed at some point. So we just got to catch them at the right time. And we went behind those boats, and that's where that giant one was. So sometimes the confidence can be all you need. You just have to have enough confidence to go through and really dedicate yourself to pay attention to what you're doing, pay attention to your line, pay attention to your cast, make sure you're retie throughout the day, make sure your drag is set how you want it, and make sure that your bait is set up properly, and this and that, because it only takes 1 second to have that fish, that fish to bite, and that's going to be your chance to either catch it or lose it. And trust me, this year I've lost my fair share of giant fish that I wish I could have back, but one of them was user error. The rest of them were just freak accidents. Some things like that happen. But let me see. Well, I'll show you examples of the biggest fish where I've caught them, and maybe it'll give you a better idea or have more confidence in the areas that you're fishing. So the 7 I caught the other day, there is a channel swing that comes close to the bank. The bank's like right here, right? The channel it doesn't swing touching the bank. It comes close to the bank and then, comes back out or something like that. And then, so there's a spawning flat back here. So this is the flat. It's not a big flat, just a small little pocket that's protected. And then you have some wood sticking out real far from the bank here. Now, previous in the week, I was still catching fish that were in a foot or 2 foot deep, but they were suspended. They weren't on the bank. So that's when I would cast, if I'm coming down the bank parallel going this way, I would cast out into the very tip of that tree and just slow roll my spinnerbait enough to bump that cover, and most of the time you would get bit right at the cover or right after you bump it. This fish wasn't. It was at the base of the wood in about a foot of water, and that wind was pumping on this bank this way. So it was creating all kind of current, and the sun was directly over here, so the sun is beating down on this bank. So I know it's warming that bank throughout the day, which is another key factor in the spring. You have spawning flat here, and then you have a spawning flat here. So you know that fish, if he's not going to be spawning right now, the water's a little bit too cold. Usually 55 to 65, then you can start looking for him spawning. But I know he's going to be between point A and point B. Another big one I caught was directly on the corner of the flat, right where it drops off. And there's like 10 foot of water here. So it drops off from 2 foot to 10 foot in a matter of 10 foot. So here's the flat. The fish was coming up to feed here and probably spending most of his time out in this deeper water until he goes to feed, and then he's coming up here to feed. Now, like I said, if you have wood or grass or rock or anything like that, this particular one has some rock and some wood on it. So you get those, you have those transition areas where they're going to use to feed and wait to spawn. That's all they're doing. A lot of these bigger ones are just waiting to spawn. They're going to spawn first. So I wouldn't be surprised if it starts happening soon, just because of the push of the full moon. The 7 came here. 7-pounder was right here, and about a foot or 2 of water sitting tight to that cover. And I guarantee you, he stays here year round. He probably spends his entire life right here in this tree, because he's got 25 plus foot of water right here. Right? So he can spend, he can go as deep as he wants. He can go as shallow as he wants. There's enough bait that's going to be there or come to him year round that he can live there the entire year. He doesn't have to go anywhere. But there's other areas close by, she could spend all of her time if she really wanted to, her whole life right in that area. But that's where I caught her, and I'm almost positive that I could say that this fish probably lives here year round. The last 7-pounder I caught was almost identical in the same type of area, not the same area, but exactly the same thing. It was a tree that had deep water, where you could utilize shallow and deeper water. And this was an area that I really don't fish that much. It just fit the profile of what I was looking for, with the sun beating on the bank all day long. So it's going to warm up. The water's a little bit stained. The wind was hitting that bank at 10, 15 mile an hour, so boat positioning was critical. And I flipped my Senko up there and popped it a few times. It came off of a limb, and she smoked it. And when I say smoked it, I mean she smoked it. So that was where one of them came from. Another one of the big ones came on the corner of the flat. So, hit the flat, and then it drops into deep water here and here. And then, there's some wood and rock right here. So it was the perfect place to set up and just wait, until it warms up. She can get everything that she needs right there. So 2 of the big fish came off the same bank, just in totally different areas and opposite areas. But these are the types of banks I'm looking for. Banks that are directly in the sun. They have access to deep water. And remember, a lot of people get this access to deep water really confused. I'm not talking 15 foot is deep, okay? 15 feet or more is deep. But if you're in an area of the lake that's, say, 200 yards long, right? And there's no water in that area that's deeper than 10 foot. Say 10 foot is the deepest. That's the channel that runs. A perfect example would be the very end of 3 Mile, okay? You have fish that live there year round. They're not going to travel 200, 300, 400, 500 yards a mile to get to where they need to go. As long as they have bait and they have cover and they have everything that they need right there. So basically, if you have an area that's like that and the deepest water is 10 foot, 6 foot, 8 foot might be deep, considered deep to those fish. So it's relative. If you're fishing an area of the lake that gets to 100 foot deep, you know, then 20, 30 foot might be deep. But when you're talking, it's relative to where you're at. So if you're going to fish the very back of 3 Mile, you have, you know, 10 foot is your deepest one. You want to stay close to where that it's got deep water, even if it's just a ditch. If you have a point that's in 5 foot of water, but you have a ditch next to it that's an 8 foot, that's deep water to that fish. So chances are you find one of those changes where it's a little underwater point, and then you have deep water right next to it, you're going to eventually find out that there's a fish that's going to utilize that area. And most times out of not, it'll be a big one. So that's another thing that you want to remember, is that deep water is relative to what you're talking about. So I just wanted to give you guys an example and tell you the baits that I was throwing so you would have a little bit more confidence. And remember, that's key. Confidence is key. So if anything, just remember to have confidence in what you're doing and know that that bite's going to happen. If you go out there and you tell yourself, oh man, I'm just going to get skunked today, but I'm going to give it a try, you're setting yourself up for failure before you even hit the water. You know, that's like telling yourself, you know, say you're a waiter and you go to, I'm going to work as a restaurant. God damn, I'm not going to make any money today, man. This sucks. Chances are you're setting yourself up for failure right now. You would be amazed at how much energy confidence puts off. And I try to tell this to everybody that fishes with me. If you don't have confidence, don't even come on my boat, because you're killing it. You're killing the vibe, as you say, already. And I'm not no tree hugger or nothing, but confidence is key. You have to have confidence. Don't moan and groan and, this sucks, this sucks. Why are you even fishing then? It takes one bite. Only one bite. So remember that, guys. Confidence is key. Always have confidence in what you're doing, and you'll be surprised at how many fish alone that confidence will help you catch. But I hope you guys are staying safe. This shit's a mess. You know, and I would love to be working right now, and well, actually, no, that's a lie. I wouldn't rather be working right now. I like fishing every day. So either way, I get to fish a lot, but right now I'm getting to fish even more. It's great. I'm getting to spend a lot of time with my kids. I'm catching giant fish, spending time with some people. It's cool. But remember to be safe. And if you're pumping gas at a pump on the way to the lake, put your gloves on. You know, pump your gas, put your gloves back in the trash can, wear a mask. You know, when you get in your truck, disinfect your hands, and then, you know, go off to the lake, disinfect your hands again, wear gloves, fish all day, disinfect your hands. It's simple, guys. Just stay safe. Don't be stupid, and